Hello, everybody. Welcome to Red Tool House. Recently, my neighbor unfortunately passed away after a brief illness. It was unexpected. And his widow has asked me to try to rehab 3 clearings, bottomland, whatever you want to call it, small meadows that have really grown up and gotten a little crazy. There's some trees down over them, just a lot of overgrowth that needs to be taken care of. So we're going to go see what we can do to take those old rough looking places and see if we can restore them to what they used to look like. So come along and see what we can do. You can't go this time, buddy. You got to stay back. Stay. So the first one's here, not too bad. It's just a little roadside meadow here that it's just grown up. We've got a little bit of briar coming in, a little bit of green briar, nothing crazy. I can take care of that with a bush hog easily. It looks like we may have a big white oak down here at the end that has fallen across it, so we'll have to go see what that looks like. But number one, little side road meadow, should be easy to take care of. So we have this white oak, actually white oak and an ash deadfall here that's just on the edge of the meadow. And this fell across the road years ago, and we cut most of it away. The only problem is if I cut this out, I do not want to mess with that root ball on the hill. And if I cut it here, it's going to fall into the creek and obviously cause an obstruction, which we don't want that either. So I may just leave this where it is because it's not really affecting any of the green space here. And once it rots down a little bit more and finally folds in half, then we may take it out. So this is number 2, and this is the old garden site. They had a garden here. The old cellar is way back here. But majority of this is just going to need some bush hogging, but we do have a huge cherry tree that's down. And we also have some autumn olive back here we need to take care of. It's kind of tough to see from all the overgrowth, all the grass has grown up, but this cherry tree fell down behind this autumn olive, actually up behind the cellar, and comes all the way to where you all are standing. So there's quite a bit here that we need to get cut up and moved in order to get in here and bush hog this, get all of it knocked down. So that's going to be some work. We got quite a bit of cutting to do. Well, this is the third one, and this is the one that's in the worst shape. It's the biggest one. You can see we've got an ash that's fallen over and knocked that hawthorn tree over. So I got to get that cut. That's going to be a little fun because that's under tension. And I've got a pretty big sycamore sapling. We got a couple other deadfall trees down into the meadow. I know there's some stumps in here. Actually, I created those stumps about 5 years ago. And so I think some of them have started to come back. So we're going to have to be ginger, maybe even a little Marianne when we get in here with the tractor. We don't want to hit any of these big stumps and tear up stuff. So that's why I like doing all this mowing after everything's been killed by the frost. You can usually see it better. Behind you all is a pretty big beech cutoff pile where they had some deadfall up by the house and had to have the tree service pile it up somewhere. So I may try to pile that up a little cleaner, big multiflora rose bush growing behind it, and see if we can get that straightened up some as well. I think we're going to start with this cherry in meadow number 2. Need to get all this wood out of the way before I come in here with a tractor, and then I'd like to just mow all 3 of them at once. But look at this autumn olive that's growing up around. It's all around this. This cherry tree fell through a pretty good size stand of autumn olive. We got some scrub trees on either side. Some little elms that got broken off. So we're going to have to get all this cleaned up. U-G-L-Y. You ain't got no alibi, you ugly. Hey, hey, you ugly. All right. She is split and hollow. We actually may have a truncated saw log right there. But let's take her home anyway. Who says we ain't brought home ugly before? Wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Let's cut that part out. All right, so it's time to fuel up the tractor here before we start mowing. And VEVOR sent me this diesel pump, transfer pump, that allows me to fill up the tractor much easier. If you think about, this is the way I've always filled it up. And Coyote puts their filler on top. So manipulating 5 gallons that way of diesel is a little bit of a drag. And usually end up spilling it all over the place. With this, I can of course use my 20-gallon tank, use these things to transfer fuel into it, and of course use the pump. Now, all these transfer pumps, and I don't think this one's an exception, are kind of made to have, to be kind of mounted on a tank, on a truck, so they don't give you much of a pigtail. That's the one thing that I would want to do, is, and probably will do, is add some additional length to the wire, because you need a 12-volt battery. And this pump draws almost 12 amps. So your typical battery backup, so like all the battery banks that I have, are not going to run this. Ask me how I know. So you definitely need to go from the battery. So either the side-by-side battery or the tractor battery. Tractor battery makes the most sense. And normally it wouldn't be a problem. I'd pull right in where you guys are standing, but it makes for a lousy video because my barn is so tight I can't shoot that. So I'm going to try to do it this way. I may not be able to reach, but normally I'd pull right in this way, take the batteries right in the front of the tractor hood here and be able to hook that up. So let's just do that real quick and see if that's going to work. Oh, so close. All right, let's just break the rules here. So this pump comes with, obviously, the pump and the hose. It has the inlet hose with a strainer on the end of it, which is nice. I want to pull it out of there because I'm going to lose my vacuum. It has a strainer in it, a basket strainer, so it keeps it clean. Of course, here's our typical looking filler pump. Handle nozzle. So let's do it. I've got my wires crossed. little bit of sawdust away from the filler cap. I've got a basket screen on my intake, my fuel tank here, so that's why she's frothing over a little bit. This thing definitely pumps out the fuel faster than I want it to for this application. But man, this is so much easier than I'd usually have to stand here on the step and put the tank on the arm of the bucket and try to tip it in there without getting fuel all over everything. This makes it so much nicer. So the one thing, obviously it's an issue with having a plastic tank like this, is I can't put the lid on it with the filler hose down in it. And of course if I take the filler hose out, we'll get diesel oil everywhere. So I'm just going to take my extra hose here. I don't want to leave the lid off because we're close to the edge of the roof line and we don't want to get all that potential for rainwater in there. So I'm just going to move this over to here as a place just to hang out. Put my lid on my main tank. Now we're in good shape. I'm going to link below if you're interested in this diesel pump. Again, 12-volt pump. Keep in mind about 12 amps, so you need to make sure you got a battery that can handle that type of stuff. And if I were you, I would add a longer extension on it if you're going to use it in a more mobile situation like we're using. All right, let's get the bush hog hooked up and let's do some mowing. All right, so I ran out of daylight last night and just got finished up around clearing number 2. It even mowed around the old house site, which hit a lot of rock and some issues there. So I stopped. It was getting too dark. So now, next day, going to be taking on the big meadow here. And this is one I know I've got some stumps in. So we're going to be very ginger as we go through here. And I've already done that joke already in this video, I realize. So let's see what we can tear up. All right, so now we're down to the hard stuff. Easy stuff taken care of. Although I did find a stump I was not expecting. So I got a stump right here. And I got a huge sycamore stump there that I cut that sycamore down probably 5 years ago. And of course, being pollarded like that with a sycamore, it just grew up all these other shoots. So I cut all those off yesterday. So I'm not going to be able to get that stump out. I'm going to try to clean up as much around it as possible. And just a lot of briar right through here. And then there's a little bit of a brush pile there. And then 2 oaks that had fallen over. The root balls are still attached to them. Those things are a little precarious. So we're gonna mow around, clean out as much as we can here, and then look to see what we can do with those oak trees. I don't know that I'm gonna mess with them, to be honest with you, because they're really rotted, and sticking a saw in them, you just don't know what you're gonna get. But first, let's get this little stump out of the way. Yeah, I can't think of anything that's more satisfying when it comes to farm work like this. This really turned out great. It's been years. I've been here 23 years. Drive by this every time I leave the farm. And this has always been in various states of roughage. Just because my neighbor, they live way up on the mountain, and this was the old homestead, and nobody uses it. And man, it is just amazing how good it looks once you knock the brush down, get some trees out of the way. Even took their old brush pile from a beech tree they had and cut up and pushed it closer against the hill. Took out a lot of autumn olive, as you saw in some of those clips. and sycamore. So let's take a closer look at what we got. So they had an old beech, and you can see it all busted up there. Big old beech. And in the top, the arborist chipped everything up. And this was a huge pile of wood chips. I think it was about 5 years ago. So I just came in here and fluffed it all up. And just look how good a soil that is. That's nice stuff. Very nice. So I fluffed that up. I have a feeling she may want me to bring that up for her garden and flower beds. There's a lot of autumn olive in greenbrier in this meadow. And what's great with the tractor bucket, like right here, there was an autumn olive stump that was decent size. So just in one pass, just scoop that up. And I was pressing my luck a little bit with those two big oaks. But when I hit it with the tractor bucket that first time, I saw that a bunch of dirt fell off of the root ball. And I thought, oh, okay, the root ball's broken away enough that I bet you I can angle it over. And sure enough, it did. Once I found the end of it, you can see the root ball was originally all the way up there, and now it's come free, and that little maple tree's holding it. The one below it, I was able to break it off halfway up and took out some more of the scrub stuff. The only one I couldn't get is this. This thing is a monster. And you can see, look at the size of that root going that way. So that one will come back, but we'll stay on it sooner. Got all the way down to my other neighbor's garden fence here so they can get in. He likes to come this way with his tractor when he wants to get in. So this allows him with his small cultivator to get in and clean all that up, or get his garden all set up. So this will give him a nice clean path. Found a couple stumps. There's another stump there that was cut off flush, so it's not really that big a deal. Had another little stump here we had to grub out. One here right on the edge of the road is right at our culvert that goes over under the county road into the main. So I wasn't going to mess with that too much. I didn't want to collapse in the top of the culvert, so we'll leave that. The guy with the state road, when he comes with a boom mower, he always hits that. So that's always fun to watch. So my brush hog is, I think it's probably 15 years old, and it's seen better days. But nothing broke on it. The only thing I lost was these little alignment pins. I think I have to replace those regularly. I may have an extra one actually here, come to think of it. But anyway, sometimes the weeds tend to grab that just perfectly, or the branches or briars or anything I'm going through. Yeah, here goes one now. And take off with it. So I got to back up. There we go. But let's look at the before and after shots of all three areas that we worked on. And this time of year, of course, where everything's dying back, it just is so satisfying to clear it wide open and just see how when the leaves come off the trees, it just makes the whole valley so much bigger. But, you know, little meadow one looks nicer along the road. The old garden location on the other side of the road and the old house site cleared out nicely. And then, of course, our main third meadow here along the county road really cleaned up really well. Well, this is the last call for our channel survey, that if you use the link below in the description, take the survey, and if you leave your name and your email, you can be registered to win our Giltech Ruck P knife set. And that'll be, I never remember, six. I think it's 6 colors. 6 colors of knives. We're going to be giving away 5 sets of those. So make sure you get in that drawing, and we'll let everyone know here in the next couple weeks. Well, I appreciate everybody watching. I pray you have a great week. Take care.